Hello everyone, my name is Chetan Gupta and I'm going to present our result reachability and matching in single crossing minor peak graphs. This is a joint work with Samir Datta, Rahul Jain, Anish Mukherjee, Vimal Raj Sharma and Raghunath Tiwari. So let me begin with the isolation lemma because the two problems that we are going to see have a common connection with the isolation lemma. The isolation lemma was given by Munle Vazirani and Vazirani. Isolation lemma says if we have a set of n elements and if we assign polynomially large weights to the element of this set uniformly at random, then for any family of subsets of this set S, the minimum weight subset in the family will be unique with high probability. So let us try to understand it through an example. Suppose that we are given a graph. Now set of edges in this graph can be thought of as this set S. Now if we look at any structure in the graph, such as spanning trees, paths, all this structure can be seen as subsets of this set S. Notice that there can be exponentially many spanning trees in the path, or there can be exponentially many spanning trees in the graph. There can be exponentially many paths between a pair of vertices in the graph. But the isolation lemma says if we assign polynomially large weights to the edges of the graph uniformly at random, then with high probability, minimum weight spanning tree in the path will be unique with high probability, or minimum weight path between a pair of vertices will be unique with high probability. So if we can de-randomize the isolation lemma, that means we can construct such isolating weight efficiently, then we can solve some interesting problems. The first problem where it has its application is in the reachability problem. So the reachability problem is defined as follow. We are given a directed graph G and two vertices S and T. We need to answer yes if there exists a path from S to T and no if there does not exist a path from S to T. This problem is a complete problem for class NL, which is a class of problem that can be solved by a non-deterministic algorithm in log space. A UL is a special subclass of NL, which is a class of problems that can be solved by a non-deterministic Turing machine in log space, such that the non-deterministic Turing machine or algorithm has at most one accepting path on each input. Notice that a non-deterministic Turing machine can have many accepting paths on one input, but a UL machine always has at most one accepting path on each input. So by definition, UL is a subset of NL, but it is not known whether NL is also a subset of UL or not. That means whether these two classes are equal or not. Since reachability is a complete problem for class NL, if we can show that reachability can be solved in UL, this will imply NL will be equal to UL. So in 1997, progress made toward this question, and Reinhardt and Enden proved that if we can construct polynomial size path isolating weight function for polynomial size path isolating weight function efficiently, then reachability can be solved in UL, and this will imply that NL is equal to UL. The other application of our isolation lemma is in perfect matching problem. So perfect matching in a graph is defined as set of disjoint edges in the graph that cover all the vertices in the graph. And perfect matching problem is defined as follow. We are given an n-directed graph as an input, and we need to answer yes if the graph has a perfect matching and no if the graph does not have a perfect matching. This problem can be solved uh, efficiently by a sequential algorithm, and this sequential algorithm was given by Edmonds in 1965. But the parallel complexity of this problem is not yet known. That means it is not known whether there exists a fast parallel algorithm for perfect matching or not. So NC is a class of problems that can be solved by a fast parallel algorithm. So in 1999, uh, Allender, Reinhardt, and Zhao prove that if we can construct perfect matching isolating weight function efficiently, then perfect matching can be solved in SPL, which is a special subclass of NC. So previously, such isolating weights have been constructed for perfect matching, reachability, and bipartite perfect matching in various classes of graph. So, like for planar graphs, uh, there is a polynomial size weight function known that isolates a bipartite perfect matching and a path between a pair of vertices in the graph. But there is no isolating weight function is known that isolates a general perfect matching in planar graphs. And the similar results are known for bounded genus graphs, K33, K53 graphs, log n genus graphs. And for general graphs, there is a quasi-polynomial size weight function known. That means a log square n bit isolating weight function is known for bipartite perfect matching in general graph. And there is a uh, log to the power 3 by 2n bit weight function known for path isolation in general graphs. And for general perfect matching, log to the power cube n uh, log cube and bit weight function is known for perfect matching in general graph. So in this result, we show that uh, there exists a log space constructible polynomial size weight function for single crossing minor free graph that isolates both a path between every pair of vertices in the graph and a bipartite perfect matching in single crossing minor free graphs. So as a corollary, we show that bipartite perfect matching in single crossing minor free graphs can be solved in SPL, and reachability in single crossing minor free graphs can be solved in UL. So, so let me first define what is a weight function. So for a graph G, a weight function is a function which assigns integer weights to the edges of the graph. We call a weight function W skew symmetric weight function if for all edges in the graph, weight of E is equal to negative of weight of E reverse. That means if there is an edge E such that E gets weight T with respect to W, then if we reverse the direction of this edge, the reversed edge should get weight minus T. Now we can show that if we have a skew symmetric weight function that gives non-zero weight to all the cycles in the graph, then it isolates both a path between every pair of vertices in the graph, and it isolates a bipartite perfect matching in the graph. Let us see how. Assume that we are given a graph and a weight function, say that the weight function gives non-zero weights to all the cycles in the graph. And now we want to show that there exists a unique minimum weight path between every pair of vertices in the graph. So for the sake of contradiction, assume that there exist two minimum weight paths P and P prime in the given graph between a pair of vertices U and V. So this yellow path is path P, this blue path is the path P prime. So by our assumption, both P and P prime are minimum weight paths. So weight of P is equal to weight of P prime. Now assume we consider another graph in which we keep everything same, but we reverse direction of this path P prime. Since our weight function is skew symmetric, we know that weight of P must be equal to negative of weight of P prime reverse. And from this we can say that weight of P plus weight of P prime reverse is equal to 0. But notice that these paths P and P prime reverse form a cycle in the graph. And by our assumption, weight of this cycle should be non-zero. That means weight of sum of these two paths should be non-zero, which is a contradiction. Therefore, we can conclude that P and P prime both cannot be minimum weight paths. So I have described only the case where these two paths do not intersect, but you can also analyze the case in the similar way when these two paths are intersecting. So if we have a weight function that gives non-zero weight to all the cycles in the graph, we can conclude that there exists a unique minimum weight path between every pair of vertices in the graph. Similarly, we can show that if we have such a weight function that gives non-zero weights to all the cycles in the graph, it also isolates a bipartite perfect matching in the graph. So let's see how it's works. So assume that we are given this bipartite graph as an input. So first of all, we assign direction to all the edges. Let's say we assign direction to all the edges from left to right. And now we apply our weight function to this graph. And we are given a guarantee that with respect to our weight function, every cycle in the graph gets non-zero weight. So now assume that with respect to our weight function, there exist two minimum weight perfect matching M and N prime in the graph. So M is in green edges and M prime is in orange edges. Now we take symmetric difference of these two perfect matchings. So in symmetric difference of two perfect matching, we delete the common edges. So we remove the top and bottom edges and we get these four edges in the symmetric difference. So it is known that if we take symmetric difference of two perfect matchings, we get set of disjoint cycles. So here we get only one cycle. So yeah, so it's a not directed cycle. The underlying undirected edges form a cycle. So if we take symmetric difference of two perfect matching, we get set of disjoint cycles. Now, since we assume that both M and M prime are minimum weight perfect matching, so we can conclude that weight of these two green edges must be equal to weight of these two orange edges. Because if it is not the case, then we can obtain another matching which is of a smaller weight than both M and N prime. Therefore, these two green edges must be equal to weight of these two green edges must be equal to weight of these two orange edges. So weight of CD plus weight of EF must be equal to weight of CF plus weight of ED. Now consider another graph in which we keep everything same, but we reverse the direction of these two orange edges. Now these four edges form a directed cycle in the graph. And by our assumption, we know that sum of weights of these four edges must be non-zero because they form a cycle. So weight of CD plus weight of D plus weight of E, F plus weight of FC should not be equal to 0. And from this we can conclude that weight of CD plus weight of EF must not be equal to weight of CF plus weight of ED, which is a contradiction to what we derived earlier. Therefore, we can conclude that if we have a weight function that gives non-zero weight to all the cycle in the graph, then it isolates a bipartite perfect matching in the graph. Now we construct similar weight function for single crossing minor phi graphs. So we construct a weight function for single crossing minor phi graphs that gives non-zero weights to all the cycles in single crossing minor phi graphs. So let me first define what is a single crossing minor phi graph. So before that, we'll have to understand what is a single crossing graph. So a single crossing graph is a graph which is not a planar graph. That means it cannot be drawn on plane without intersecting its edges, but it can be drawn on a plane such that there exists exactly one crossing. So this is a single crossing graph. So we say that a graph H is a minor of a graph G if H can be obtained by G by deleting its edges and vertices and contracting some edges of G. And if H cannot be obtained from G in such a fashion, we say that G is an H minor phi graph. So if we are given a graph H, which is a single crossing graph, so we call all set of all H minor phi graph as single crossing minor phi graph. So, and it is known that if we are given a single crossing graph H and we look at the class of H minor phi graph for a fixed single crossing graph H, all the graphs in this set can be decomposed into planar graphs and constant tree width graphs. So I'm not going to explain what is a constant tree width graph, and we will just use a simple property of this graph later on. So assume that this graph G on the left, it is a single crossing minor phi graph for a fixed single crossing graph H. So it can be decomposed into a smaller graph such that each of these graphs is either planar or of constant tree width. So all these smaller graphs are of constant tree width or planar graph. So what uh, so yeah, so we can define a component tree uh, with respect to such decomposition. So a component tree of the single crossing minor phi graph is a tree such that each node of the tree contains a component or a subgraph of G, and there is an edge between two nodes if the corresponding components in the node share some vertices. So these two components share vertices B and G. These two components share vertices D and F. And what we get from such a decomposition is that if we look at any cycle in G, in this big graph G, either it will be contained completely inside a component or it will span over more than one component. If it spans over more than one component, then we can see that this big cycle can be seen as decomposed into smaller cycles. So this big cycle A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, A, it can be seen as decomposed into these smaller orange cycles. And one thing to notice is that if we have a skew symmetric weight function, that weight function preserves weights of the cycle. What do I mean by that? Assume that we have a skew symmetric weight function that assigns some weight to these cycles on the left, on the right. Now, if we look at sum of weights of these cycles, so these cycles collectively contain all the edges of this big cycle, plus they have some extra edges. So they contain all the edges of the cycle in the left, plus they contain these extra dashed edges. So this cycle contains DF, this cycle contains FD, an extra edge. This cycle contains GD, GB, an extra edge, and similarly this cycle contains BG, an extra edge. But notice that each dashed edge occur exactly in two components, plus they occur in different orientations. So here this edge is oriented from D to F, and here this edge is oriented from F to D. Similarly, here this edge is oriented from G to B, and here this edge is oriented from B to G. So if we have skew symmetric weight function and we take sum of all these cycles, weights of these dashed edges will cancel out each other, and what we get is exactly the weight of this bigger cycle. So first, given a single crossing minor phi graph, we decompose it into smaller components, and then we try to construct weight function for the smaller component such that uh, if there is a cycle that is completely contained within a component, it gets non-zero weight. And if there is a cycle which spans over more than one component, then sum of weights of all these cycle is non-zero. Because if sum of weights of all these cycle is non-zero, then we can say that sum of the weight of the original bigger cycle is also non-zero. So as we said, that a single crossing magnified graph can be decomposed into constant tree with components and uh, planar components. So these P1, P2, P3 are planar component, and this C is a constant tree with component. Now what we show that we can further decompose this constant tree with component into constant size component. So we replace this constant tree with component by its own component tree, such that each component in its component tree is of constant size. And thus we get this new modified component tree in which each component is either planar or of constant size. Now we will construct weight function for these components in this modified component tree. So our weight function consists of two weight functions, W1 and W2. So W1 ensures that if there is a cycle that is completely contained within a component, that means given a single crossing minor phi graph, we obtain its modified component tree. And if we look at a cycle in the single crossing minor phi graph G and look at its projection in this component tree, if that cycle is completely contained within a component, then W1 assigns non-zero weight to that cycle. And if that cycle spans over more than one component in this component tree, then W2 assigns non-zero weight to that cycle. So let's see how we can construct this weight function W1. So W1 is very simple. So since we know that each component is either planar or of constant size, so if there is a cycle which is completely contained within a planar component, we can just use the weight function constructed for planar graphs. So we directly apply the weight function constructed for planar graph to this planar component, and we know that each cycle that is contained within these component, it will get non-zero weight with respect to this weight function. Now for constant size component, we can just use exponential weights uh, to assign non-zero weights to all these cycles. Exponential weights uh, with respect to size of the components, because size of the component is constant. Even exponential, if we consider exponential weights, it will remain constant. So assume that E1, E2, till Ek are the edges in a constant size component. We assign weights to the power I to edge Ei. Now with respect to this weight function, any subset of edges in the constant size component gets non-zero weight. Therefore, any cycle in a constant size component will get non-zero weight with respect to this weight function. So with respect to weight function W1, if there is a cycle in the single crossing minor phi graph that is completely contained within a component, then this cycle will get non-zero weight with respect to our weight function W1. And now we'll see how we can construct weight function W2. So I'll just give an overview how we construct this weight function W2. So we look at this component tree of the graph, and W2 assigns weight to the edges uh, in the component tree in bottom up fashion. So we first look at the leaf nodes in this component tree, and our weight function W2 assigns some constant weights to these edges. And as we go one level up, the weights assigned to the edges in the component in that level is just some constant time the weights assigned in the previous level. Now what W2 ensures in addition to this is that if we have a cycle in the single crossing minor phi graph which spans over more than one component, we can say that if we look at this component, which have the projection of the cycle, they form these components form a these components form a subtree in this component tree. That means if we look at these component which have the projection of this bigger cycle in the component tree, they will form a connected component in the component tree. So if we assume this that this component tree is a rooted tree, we can say that there is a unique highest node which contains a projection of this bigger cycle in the single crossing magnetic graph. Now, our weight function W2 ensures that whichever node in the component tree contains the uh, whichever highest node in the component tree contains a projection of the cycle in single crossing magnetic graph, this projection gets more weight than the rest of the projection combined. So therefore, their sum will never cancel out each other to zero. It will always remain non-zero. So this is the idea how this W2 works. So we have this weight function W1 which assigns weight non-zero to all the cycles which lie within a component, and W2 assigns non-zero weight to all the cycles which is span over more than one components, and we just combine these two weight function appropriately to get the final weight function. Thank you.